Are the brand new OEMs any good in MX bikes? Today, we're going to be talking all about it. So today, we got a lot of topics to talk about, but the most important one is the OEMs. They just recently dropped, and they're way different. And a lot of controversy, a lot of good things. So we got to definitely talk about it. For me personally, I've tested a bunch of the 450s. There's still a couple that I haven't tested yet. But I know, Doc, you have tested a lot on 450s, 250s. So
everything.
Give me your thoughts on it, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it.
Personally, regardless of what my comment section likes to think, there's no money being exchanged here, but they are my favorite bikes ever in MX bikes. I think hands down the best bikes we've ever had.
Ever?
Yes. Ever.
That's saying something.
That's a bold statement. I know. And because once you figure out how to use them, they're really not different as far as traction. I know everyone's really struggling at the moment, and I was struggling at first too, but I mean, yesterday I jumped on Supercross just to see, because I'm reading my comments and everyone's like, the game's dying. It's the worst. Okay. And I really wanted to see, am I just biased here because I help them, or are what's going on? And I jumped on Soupy. Guys, I'm still running quali times. And I know like the defense is, well, you have a bajillion hours in the game. Well,
you do. You have like 5,000. Okay.
6,000.
Oh my God.
And I understand.
Serious?
Yeah, it's like 63 or something like that. And I understand that is definitely a factor, but it doesn't mean that, like, if the bikes were bad, Beta 17, we all hated them because they were sliding all over the place. We could not do anything. The front ends were terrible. Nobody was saying that the bikes were really good, at least from what I can remember. It's just, I guess we just adapt faster. I mean, look at Troy, Linz, me, Cam, Tyler J, all the really, really fast guys. They really like the bikes. Do I think that the rear end traction?
Hurtful.
Yeah. Whoa.
Hurtful.
Hey man, you've been off the grind. It's all right.
I haven't played much.
Also,
yeah, shout out. Yep, let's go, baby.
Anyway, I think over time people will realize that they're really just better. Are they perfect? Absolutely not. Is the rear end traction super duper realistic and exactly where it should be? No, not at all. But do I think it's a better position than the Beta 18 bikes? Personally, I do. And I see a lot of people talking about how all the pay tracks they bought and all this stuff are just obsolete. I just don't understand that. I mean, so some of the free ride tracks.
Yeah, I have 3 points, okay? Going off of your thoughts there. So first off, free ride, okay? Yeah. A lot of my favorite maps are unplayable.
I definitely get that, 100%.
Which sure. I'll get to a fix for that, which is already being worked on.
Yeah,
I'm assuming. Yep. I'll bring that up. And then second is, I don't necessarily think like all the previous tracks are obsolete, like the tracks, not free rides, right? Like I think the Supercross tracks are fine. You just got to get used to how the bikes work. Motocross, I really haven't tested too much of like the motocross tracks, but from what I've tested on the previews, what I've played with, like, just say, I've done a lot of Baja Brawl, actually, shout out to Hearn, but just playing that, and I know that the motocross tracks are going to be fine, and both of my friends that have played it a lot are saying, like, motocross is going to be awesome. Supercross is going to be a little tougher, but motocross is going to be great. And then my third point was, I think we have to give it some time because the soil is going to be different for these new upcoming tracks. It's going to feel much better, probably going to have a little bit more grip. And I think we just got to wait on that a little bit. We might see it potentially with the SMX rounds, I would assume, because they're coming up in November, right? So those are kind of like 3 points. I think it's like the end of November now. I don't really know. But those are kind of like my 3 points. I totally get the free ride, though, because I'm a big guy that makes clips. Me, Nate, we go back and forth with like the game of bike, right? But I was reading through the feedback. Shout out to L21. Shout out to a couple other people in there. I know Panic was in there, Pelster was in there, Nate was in there talking about the free ride category. And from my understanding, they are working on a category for free ride that will make it better, like MX1 Plus, I think, or something like that, or like, and then like the 2 strokes, and then the classic. So it's going to be better for the free ride guys. So those free ride maps such as Candyland, Deadlock are not going to be obsolete. Yeah. I reached out to Pelster actually, and he said his track is technically fine, like to play on.
There's a few things. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I haven't tested it fully yet. I'm just going based off the free ride guys. But I know like the Pelster map, the Pelster's Playground, technically is okay. I'm assuming, say for like Imagination 2020 that came out for free ride. I think that one's okay. I've seen Nate do a bunch of clips and it looks fine. Right. The hills, I don't know how the hills is going to work though, because I feel like that map is more spaced out. So I feel like the new bikes don't really work that well.
Yeah,
but I could
fourth gear.
Yeah,
fourth and fifth gear just odd.
Yeah, so that's from my takeaway. Like, I feel like personally, the racing side is going to be great. I've said this multiple times, even in the previews. I said the racing, slowing down the bikes and making it more methodical and technical is going to be great for the racing side. If we can fix the Poboso physics next to people, that's going to be even better. But I don't really, I don't see that happening. But just in general, I think the racing is going to be really, really good upcoming season, GP, Supercross. But just more of that free ride until that free ride category is built in. I think that's going to struggle a little bit. And then just those free ride maps. But then, like I said, that soil is just going to be.
Yeah. I think I went into some just random lobbies and I really wanted to test like racecraft to see if cutting down made a difference or how much corner entry made a big difference. And I know that this is a stock track, but I was on Maryland and there's that big step down and then you 180 and come flying back up the hill at Budds Creek, and then there's the big roller over the pipe.
Yeah.
Well, there was 2 guys. We're all on 450s. There was 2 guys. They were ahead of me and were already going through the turn when I was entering the turn. But I watched them get a little like speedway action, and I used throttle control and just railed that turn. And the amount of drive I got up that hill in comparison to them was insane. Like, insane. And I saw the comment. The person said, like, Doc? It is what it is. I'm from Cali. You know, it is. Anyway, it is what it is, brother. But I really thought that made it. I mean, I would have never been able to do that. I mean, I was pulling bike links on these guys, and it was just because I just modulated the power through the corner. And if you guys pay attention, this is something that I've been learning as I've been testing. If you pay attention to the audio on these bikes, you can hear when it's pulling and hear when it's spinning now. The bike isn't just revving. There is a difference. And I've been messing around.
I feel like you can feel it too, though.
Yeah. And I've been messing around like on-offs in Supercross. Before, I would just stay in second gear on a 250. And now I'm finding that if I stay in second gear and I land wide open, it'll just kind of die. But if I click up to third and I even just kind of roll off where I'm 80% throttle on the on-off, it'll hook and I'll get over it, perfect. And then to the tracks, if you play the earlier Supercross tracks, A2, Detroit, all that stuff that was real ruddy, I don't think these bikes work great on that. But I think if you go to some of the later tracks, what would that be? Salt Lake City, Denver, where they were more hard pack. And you look at how Stone Rider made some of those bowl turns where there might be an inside rut, but there's just kind of a bowl turn with some lines coming out of it. That is my guess is how they're going to make the future tracks, and the bikes work really good. I mean, they're not big ruts, but they're just something for you to hook up on, and it makes cutting down and moving around on the tracks really, really good. But the other community that got kind of shocked,
I didn't talk about those.
Was the wheelie guys, the wheelie fellas. They got cooked. Like, you cannot wheelie on these bikes anymore. And so I do think that the
should
freestyle,
they make another category for those guys, or is that going to be part of the freestyle?
I think the freestyle will fix that.
Okay.
And I think as much as we like to make fun of them about wheelie weirdos and like that's like its own community,
Dude, it's
I think
crazy.
it's huge. It's
Yeah.
flipping huge, and it drives a ton of game sales and a ton of players. And so, as like the MX racer side of things, we can't really ignore them as much as maybe I don't really vibe with the wheelie side of things. But we have to address that. And it was cool to see Nico say something about that. And I think there's a lot of people that are.
I think
I
like you
think
said,
they'll
I
do it.
think the freestyle category, the free ride category will
Sure.
fix that, right?
Mhm.
Because they want more of that traction style to get over some of these massive jumps that were created for the previous bikes and
Yeah.
stuff. And that would probably take care of that whole side of the game that us racers don't really participate. I'm more creeping into the free ride now more days,
Mhm.
but like the wheelie, I don't touch
Sure.
wheelies that much. But
Yeah.
going back to the tracks though, what you pointed out was I was actually on Salt Lake the other night, and like you mentioned, if Stone can make the tracks like that, it will work really, really well because it's not it's not like stuffed with 1,000 ruts in the corner.
Yeah.
Like for example, Detroit, where there was like 3 ruts going to Thor. I know why he made it like that. Like I
Sure.
know why, right?
Yeah. Or
But for
Indy.
these, but like for these bikes, if you want to cut down, you have to have that, say that inside rut or a flat bolt turn where you can actually make that cut down, and then the kind of that small line that you mentioned, you have to have that for these bikes, I think.
I
Uh,
think I think our tracks are going to be way less ruddy moving forward. I would assume that maybe like the real deep ones in like
mm,
Indy, Daytona, that kind of stuff, maybe they are real ruddy because they're ruddy IRL. But I would assume that they're going to rely more on the E-road, which is its own topic, and letting us cut down a bit.
for those rutted tracks, I think if you make it like 30% rutted, it would work really
Yeah.
well. In my opinion, maybe
Sure.
keep some of the ruts, but 30% less. I think those tracks would be phenomenal.
There's typically always a rut in real life somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
even
So
on a hard pack,
having
there's usually
right.
ruts somewhere,
So
right?
having something is necessary. Yeah.
I also got commented this. I don't know if it was on like a post or anything, but maybe some of my friends just mentioned it that they think the scaling needs to be reduced. And I
Sure.
personally am a 450 guy, so these tracks feel great, right? But
Mhm.
I really haven't tested the 250s enough to say like, because we were on Birmingham the other day, or I guess last night we were on Birmingham, right? That track feels great on a 450. Like the
Right.
scaling feels amazing. Whether you're going off the start, you're rolling the first one, double, triple, like you're just lugging that second gear, and it's just perfect, right? But for
Right.
250s, I don't know if this scaling is too big. Like, what would you say? Because
I
I've seen
think it's
clips
a
of your
little
250s.
I think it's a little big. From my testing, I can pretty much get around anything with enough laps and kind of do the same rhythms that I was doing. There are some big lines, big quads or something that are just not possible anymore in a 250, but all the triple ins, all that stuff, I think it'll come down to more removing some of the rough on the faces
Mhm.
that he originally put to slow us down,
Okay.
right? There's tons of brake or
Yeah.
acceleration bumps going up the
Hey,
face of
don't
the
get that
jump.
wrong. Okay. I got
Yeah.
roasted for that. Don't get that
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, don't mix those words up, otherwise your video is going to get 10 million more views from everyone correcting you. What a
Yep.
shame. But I think things like that. But I have seen some potential layouts that,
Okay.
and I played some a long time ago, and they're similar, but they're definitely a little bit tighter, and I think it makes a lot more sense. They were still difficult on 250, still difficult on a 450, but I think that they're going the right direction. This
Okay. Yeah. Because
was
that's,
a few months ago, yeah.
yeah, because that was a couple of people's topics to me personally, like, hey, we need to scale these down a little bit. And I was like, I even said it in my preview video. I was like, I think Supercross scaling that Stone has created this past year was perfect.
Yeah.
Now that was catered towards like
Mhm,
those Beta 18 bikes. So like I understand that. So
mhm.
I would like to say the same, like you're mentioning, maybe the reduce or the reduce of the roughness maybe
Yeah.
plays a factor for the 250s. Overall, I think personally, if we get maybe 10% less scaling, the tracks would be phenomenal. like, right? Even 5% would probably be better. But in total, I think racing in general is just going to be phenomenal on these bikes.
I agree.
I really do. And like I mentioned in the preview video, you mentioned it. It's just going to slow it down, I think. Obviously, the super fast guys, shout out to Cam, shout out to all those guys, right? Skills, TJ, everybody. Not you,
Linda.
Doc. Not you. Linda, shout out to Linda.
I didn't make Team Guam, you know.
But I think they're still going to have that speed like crazy, right? And they're going to probably still dominate everything, right? But us more casual pro racers are just going to have more fun with it because we're going to be moving in and out, having like the speed to battle with people, not trying to go wide open everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? So, me personally, I think the racing is going to be great.
I think look at A2, the triple in after you come back down the start straight after the whoops. There's that 180 and then you triple in there. That triple in is pretty difficult on the 250, but right now it's only difficult because it's a flip and whoop section from the corner all the way up the face of the jump, and the bikes are just like da 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 da, and then you go over it. And I think if some of that was mellowed out, because you do need a little bit of that, you know, movement on the ground for them to hook really well. Look at oh man, I was just on a track yesterday and I felt like I had infinite traction, and it was because there was just little bits of rough all over the track. Oh, I think it was Unadilla. Dude, I was just RT on a 250 around that whole track because there was nothing smooth on the track at all, and the tires were just constantly hooked. But it wasn't like braking bumps or acceleration bumps. It was just the ground was just moving everywhere, and I was just constantly hooked up. Or High Point, I'm running almost my qualifying time from the pro race. I can get within like a half second of that on these bikes.
Okay, so kind of going off of that, how do you think the E-Road's going to play a factor? Because I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I might get heat for this, but I was not a fan of the E-Road on Baja Bra. I don't know. I don't know if that's because the track was catered or like made for the other bikes.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But me personally, I felt like the E-Road on that track was just super weird. I know that's just an off track, right? I know that, and her makes great tracks too. But like,
I just slabs track too.
Yeah, like I just didn't. I wasn't a big fan. It felt weird. It felt like I don't know how to explain it, and I may be the only person thinking of this, but like, it felt like there was like potholes in the E-Road, and I was like, I was like, I don't know why that's there when it should be smooth, right? Because like it should be smooth. Hypothetically, it should dig down and smooth around, and I get why like before it was doing like the weird edges, but I thought they fixed that. But maybe I was wrong.
I'm been trying to figure it out too because it's odd, and I can't figure out why. I mean, before these bikes, when you were in a lobby with like one or higher E-Road, it would kind of do the same thing, in where it would just get real jagged and awkward and just didn't make any sense. I'm just wondering if we need to run even lower, like 0.05 E-Road or 0.1, because I was on slabs track and it was the same exact thing you're talking about. It's now whenever you're landing somewhere, it's just hole. And so if everyone's jumping into a corner, there's a spot on slabs track where you kind of like hit a braking bump, and then you jump into the corner, and everyone was doing that, and it was just hole.
Yeah.
And then eventually it was just giant hole. And I don't really know. And then it was a square-edged hole because when you were coming out of it, your rear end would bounce up, and so it wouldn't erode anything right there. And so it was just like a straight line, and it was just odd.
Is that how the track is being made, or is that how the bike's physics are playing a factor to the track?
I don't know. I would need to ask JV.
Yeah,
because he would know.
That's what I found, and I'm not saying like the E-Road would have been better on Beta 18. It might have. I don't personally know because I haven't actually tested Baja on the 18s, but it felt like every corner, the rut when it got E-Road, it was just pothole, and it was just pothole going through the corner. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was strange because I asked my friend. I was like, "Do you not see this, or do you not feel it, or
No,
like
it's bad.
see it?" And he was like, "Nah, bro, I don't know what you're talking." I'm like, "You're blind because it's there."
No, somebody shared a picture in the OEM chat last night, and it was from a Supercross round where they were all taking the outside. It was 20-man gate for 30 minutes or 20-minute race or something. And it was just holes just throughout the whole corner.
And you would think that would be smooth, right?
Yeah, and
Hypothetically, you would think.
I asked him what his E-road was on, and he said 0.2, which used to be kind of the base we would run. 0.2 was what I would always put my daddy on. And I'm just wondering if we need to lower that now. I mean, I don't understand why 1 is so bad. I think 1 should actually be like 0.2, and then you go from there.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if we need to run, and I guess I could test this. I could do a lobby and do this, but run 0.5, or even like on some of the sand tracks, they've run 0.025 before. And I'm just wondering, maybe
back in the
we
day,
need to
those sand
start.
tracks would be crazy.
Yeah. Remember, or even 2022 Millville. Anyway, when you would go into the sand, there's just like a wall there.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if maybe that's what it is. We're used to running 0.2, and that's way too high. And again, it doesn't make any sense to me, and we shouldn't have to be running like thousandth place decimals for the E-road, but maybe that's what we need to do at the moment to fix.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one because
No.
I was like, I got done with the race and I'm like, I'm not a big fan of how the E-road is happening. I love the track. The track's great. I wasn't having fun with that E-road hypothetically, right?
It could have something to do with how they layer the soil when they're making the track too. That is way above my pay grade. I have no idea. But it could have something to do with that. Yeah,
Kels,
somebody
let us know in the comment section.
Yeah, somebody please clarify.
But yeah. Okay, so still just sticking on the OEM bikes here, and you've done a lot of testing. I've done some testing on the 450s. Which bike is your favorite? I know you just posted a video of your 250 top 3, but what's your favorite 250 and what's your favorite 450?
It's kind of a rigged question. I'm working on a shootout video for Supercross at the moment. So today I spent the whole morning just grinding Soupy on all the different bikes. No setups. The 23 Yam is amazing, but it's still a little wonky. And then afterwards I played with the setup and I got it where I was vibing. I do think the KTM, unfortunately, is still like the best base that there is. This is spoiling my video, but the best base for a 250. Personally, I know I'm all over the place here, but personally, if I had to choose to race a bike tomorrow in Supercross, it would be the Honda still. Even though that's what I raced
from last year, yeah.
Yeah, and then outdoors, the KX. The KX is disgusting.
So like
the
I
KX
feel like
is insane.
Okay, keep going because I'll give my topics here in a second, but keep going.
The KX, the Cowie 250 outdoors is insane. If you gear it 1452 and then lower the rear end a little bit, that bike is a literal rocket ship and it does not slide out. It was bait 18 all over again on that bike. If you set it up, you get like 6-7 swing arm, lower it in the rear end, 1452. That bike is an absolute rocket ship and it does not slide. It's a perfect traction the whole time. Supercross, I like it, but you have to be so high in the revs because that's where that bike cooks, is at 12 billion RPM, which, everyone hates me. I'm on the rev limiter 24/7, but so it kind of works for me. But in Soupy, I just found the Honda to be a little bit more usable everywhere, and the Honda eats the whoops. So,
what about your 450s? Have you done a lot of testing on the 450s compared to the 250s per se? You tested them, but not like crazy.
I a bit, not nearly as much as the 250s because I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for SMX. But the Yamaha 450, I really like. It feels just very solid, right? Nothing too flashy. Doesn't seem like it's crazy fast, but it definitely pulls. I think the most fun bike is the Cowie 450 because it's an absolute missile and it is like so fun. It just scrubs everywhere, but she's a lot to hold on to, brother. You know what I mean? It's tough. And then the Husky. The Husky's great, and the Zook. Honestly, I think they're all really good. Like they're all in line. I know I say this every flipping minute, but they're all. I think they're great. You know. Hashtag where's my check from OEM team.
You know what's funny is both of my friends said the Suzuki was really good. Both of them. They were like, bro, it's so fast. And I'm like, the Suzuki? Like, are we talking about the same Suzuki? And they're like, yeah. So I've tested the Suzuki. I tested the Husky KTM, Yamaha, a little bit of the Honda, and the Fantic. So
Honda's weird.
Honda, it feels so freaking heavy. Like, it feels extremely heavy. Like you mentioned, Yamaha feels pretty damn good. I really gelled with it. I gelled with it before too. That's why I kind of maybe like the Fantic as well, because they're basically the same bike. Let's be real, basically similar bike, right? And then I saw a lot of people use the Husky 450 in pubs when I was playing. So obviously that's a great bike. Some of the fastest guys were using that, and I hopped on it. I've been using it all year, so I'm like kind of biased towards it, I guess you would say. And it feels good. KTM, same exact bike basically, and it feels great as well. Really Kawasaki, I don't see it. I don't see it, bro. Man. Bro, I don't see it. My boy Briggs, my boys Davey, they're both rocking. I'm like, guys, this thing is trash, man. Like, what are you talking about? And maybe I'm just not a fan of it. Maybe like I did try it in Supercross. I tried it in motocross, and I was like, this shit is trash. And I was like, I'm not using this.
I think I don't know. I think it'll be good with the setup. I think will do all right.
Maybe. I haven't. I did see a lot of people on the KX 250 though, and so like I'm assuming that's going to be the meta for 250s for the beginning of the OEMs. Yeah. At least right now, but for 450s, I think I might have to go best bike is Husky again. Like literally, I feel like it's just the same Husky KTM, I guess, whatever one you prefer. But I feel like it's the best bike still. And I was vibing with it still.
In my Soupy testing on the 250s, at least, you could clearly tell the Husky and the KTM were like fast. You know, the bottom to mid was way heavier than any of the other bikes. I think the Honda has the strongest just mid to high, but the Husky and the KTM, I didn't feel good on them really. But then when you look at lap times, I think I set the fastest lap on both of those bikes out of all of them, but I felt way more consistent on other bikes. And it's kind of the same thing on the 450s for me. Whenever I ride the Husky or the KTM, it's like, oh, wow, I just shaved a half second off my fastest time, but I felt like I was going to die the whole time.
Yeah.
Whereas the Cowie is kind of the same way, where I feel like I'm the coolest person in the world playing on that bike, but then I'm a second off of my time, or 2 seconds off. And then the Yamaha, it was somewhere in the middle where I didn't really feel cool, didn't feel very flashy, but my numbers were doable. And that's usually what I go for, is like, what is the bike that I'm going to be able to put? I don't need to be able to quali top on it, but what am I going to be able to run the closest to my qualifying time over and over and over and over and over and over again? And that's why I ran the Honda in Supercross last year. Was I knew it wasn't the fastest bike. I knew I was at a disadvantage, but I knew it was the bike I was going to crash the least on. And I felt like I did pretty good in Soupy. So,
you did. Yeah, that's kind of the same thing with me when I was doing my testing last OEMs. I went on every single bike, and similar to what you were saying, like I found myself almost being like, I found myself super fast on the Honda, but I was like, this thing does not vibe with me. And then I hop on, say the Fantic, I was a little bit slower, but like I felt comfortable on that bike and I felt good on the bike. And then transitioning to Husky throughout the year, like the same concept, right? So I think later on, I think meta, just like 18, is going to be whatever bike you feel comfortable on, because they're all going to be good.
I think you'll see most people on KTM and Husky again, just because the bottom, at least for 250s, the bottom and the mid is so strong. And then I think, much like last year where the Honda was kind of shining in some spots, you'll see the Cowie. So I think those are going to be the three main bikes. And then I'll do something different because, whatever.
You got to rock that Suzuki. Have you done the Suzuki 250?
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
I gotta try that.
It's still the Zook, still has the Zook kind of vibe to it, where it's a little clunky and wants to kind of flop at times. But just stock setup, I had no problem hitting any of the triples that I was, struggling with on, like, say, the Fantic. I was struggling with some of the triple ends on the Zook. I had no problem. Obviously, I was on the Yoshi mapping. Also, for Supercross, if you're on a 250, just run the 100 rear tire and thank me later, because it is
100 or 110?
100.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. On it for a 250 on Soupy, definitely run the 100. It's like night and day.
You guys heard it here first. Right.
For me, what do I know?
No, I think truthfully, like going back to our original like thing about racing, every bike's going to be somewhat viable to a degree.
Yeah.
If you're a decent rider, you're going to have a viable bike options this year, just like last year. I think obviously there's going to be meta.
Sure.
Every game has a meta, right? Every year has a meta. But I think overall, like, these OEMs will be great for racing, motocross, supercross. You're going to see a lot. I think you're going to see a lot more consistency out of the people this year. I think they're going to adapt their riding style. Instead of wide open everywhere, they're going to be more technical. And obviously, you're going to still be wide open to a degree. The fast guys probably are, right? But I feel like you're going to see a lot more consistency and a lot less crashes, because people are going to have to understand, like, hey, I can't go Mach 4 in this corner and still make this line, right? You're going to have to go second gear, lug it, hit only double, right. triple, double. Like, so for me, this upcoming year is going to be great. I really am going to watch the SMX rounds, because that's going to really be like a future tell of what's going to happen in the future. So I'm excited about that. I'm in LCQ. I ain't making no LC. I ain't making out of LCQ, brother. So I'll probably just have fun, watch. But yeah, I think eventually, like you mentioned before, people will come around to these OEMs. I mean, I saw a couple guys on Instagram, and you know who I'm talking about, was not happy about this.
I immediately text him and was like, bro, this week I'm spending, let's set a date, 3 hours. I will get you to like this game. I promise. He said, okay.
Yeah, but and then, like earlier, there is a fix, or not, I guess you wouldn't say a fix, but like an update coming for the free ride guys, the wheelie guys, the bike life guys. So I'm actually happy that they're listening to that. You know, they could have just shafted everybody and be like, hey, these are the bikes, no matter what, we're not changing it. So I'm actually really happy that they're listening to the feedback. They're listening to the guys in the free ride community that do free ride, like the main guys, right? And they're also, I'm not familiar with anybody in the bike life, the main bike life guys. I've seen obviously clips and stuff, but like, I'm assuming they're going to be listening to those guys as well, right? So it's awesome to see Insane, L21, everybody that's working on the OEMs listening to this feedback, providing us updates, providing us with different aspects of the game that we can actually enjoy later on. So
I mean, unlike, again, what my comment section would like you to believe, as much as I do really like the bikes, I really enjoy the current bikes, I do also see the people's concern for the newer player. And I think even then, allowing the free ride bikes to be, a category, the other bikes were easier to get on and just RT. Do I think that was the best thing for the health of the game? Absolutely not, because it was just ridiculous at that point. And this is what just blows my mind about the comment sections all the time. People don't understand that you can understand both perspectives and try to have a solution for both sides. Just because I'm saying that the version 19 bikes, I think, are the best bikes we've ever had, doesn't mean that I don't understand the side of, hey, I have 10 hours, I'm working 60 hours a week in an attic, I'm exhausted, I'm going to come home, try to spin some laps. I get that. And I think that the OEM team is starting to see that as well. And this is something that, whether they've listened to me or just made this decision on their own, but I have made a big case of that, of we have to understand take Bogle. This is how the conversation started. Bogle has been absolutely addicted to MX bikes. I mean, brother is fully addicted, right? You know, like we all were when we first got the game, texting me, hey man, you're gonna be on, you know, playing, posting stuff on his story, watching MX and Nations, you know, I mean, fully addicted. He just spent what 200, 300 hours learning these new bikes, and then they change. And that was the thing that I told the OEM team, not to criticize, but that I think is a flaw in MX bikes as a whole, and I've been saying this for a long time, is it has nothing to do with these bikes are bad, those bikes were better. It's that the game changes. You fundamentally have to play the game different because of an update. And I think for the casual person, that's a really difficult concept to come across, especially a game that's so difficult to get into. And it's like, wow, I finally am able to do a lap on Countryside. And then you get on one day, you have to update the bikes. You're like, bro, what is happening? Right? It doesn't mean the bikes are bad, because I guarantee you new players that have never played the game before that are getting on these bikes are going to be in love with them and be like, whoa, like, look at how good the front ends are. And this is just going to be how the game is. They're not bad. It's not like new players are going to get on and just hate them because they don't know anything different. The people that are casuals that have been playing, you know, on the RT bikes, now I understand that. And so all that being said, I think that this hopefully they go through with it. I saw the poll, which is an absolute wash. I mean, it was just 100% yes, you know, so they're pretty much locked in, you know, there was nobody said anything different. I think it's a great idea. I mean, why not, right? Why not add the free ride bikes? You solve free ride, you solve casuals, you solve wheelie dudes, and then we race on these.
I was going to say, like,
Ooh.
like, for example, this is just an idea that I literally just came up with, but like the free ride guys are going to have like their own category. What if you had like a casual category where it's a mix between the full current update and like the old update, and it's just a way less version of the new one, so they can like transition into it. I don't know if that would be even worth it, right? It's just an idea that I came up with.
I mean, sure. I think it ends up just coming down to, for the OEM team to do all of that, is it really worth it? Right? Yeah. You know, I think that this is the best solution that isn't really difficult for them to do. They already have the old bikes, old tires, make them their own category. I don't know what goes into that, but I'm assuming it's easy. And then put them out, right? And there you go.
That's 1,000 hours later.
It could be super difficult. I'm just assuming that you just click a couple buttons and we're chilling. Right. Who knows? But it seems like the easiest solution because, you know, Pelster's points and a lot of these guys' points of, hey man, like a lot of these tracks that we paid for are completely obsolete is a super valid point, right? And it is something that needs to be paid attention to and something that I talked about. And I think this is just the best solution. And I think the RT bikes fit those categories better anyway, right? It's not, it doesn't really feel like a rigged kind of whatever, okay, we'll just give you these guys to make you shut up. It actually seems like a really good solution because those bikes are way better in free ride, just the whole physics around them at all. And those tires are way better, and they're way better on wheelies, but it's the same models. Now, they did say they're not going to update the models, but, you know, I mean.
Yeah, I think overall, I'm glad that as we started this, like, little talking point, that they're listening to the feedback, right?
Yeah,
that's
100%.
The only thing you can really ask for is them to hear what the players want and actually go out there and give it to us. Like, that is just awesome. That's what you want as a community. So very, very happy that Insane and everybody on the OEM team are listening and providing us updates with that feedback and everything like that. So I think overall, I think both of us kind of agree. Next year, racing is going to be great.
Yeah,
it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited about SMX and see how that plays out. So that's
E-Road's my question mark. That's it.
Yeah, I guess E-Road. But okay, so that's basically our conversation on the OEMs, and we talked about it a lot actually, which is great.
A lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about. I mean, we probably haven't even like discussed a couple of other factors too, but we're gonna jump into RD music. All right. A little something, a little
Yes, sir.
big transition here to RD music compared to the OEMs, but it's got to be talked about. Okay.
Yeah.
How did that all get started? Like what was your thought process of saying, yo, I want to start RD music?
I mean, honestly, I have grown up just loving music. I have been told so many times throughout my life, the amount of passion you have for music, it is just a wonder you're not a musician. I don't play an instrument. I have no idea how to do anything. I've never put time into it. I don't know how to play the drums, the guitar, anything, keyboard. But from my earliest memories, as much as dirt bikes are part of my life, music has been a part of my life. I remember my dad introduced me to Metallica's Black Album when I was like 3 years old, and my mom wouldn't let me listen to it, so I snuck it into my room on a cassette, and I played it in a SpongeBob cassette player in my room when I was like 4 years old, listen to Enter Sandman. Like, it's just always been, it's always been a huge part of my life. And so as I'm looking to expand RD, what can I do? I really just started to think, what do I like? And what am I interested in? And then started to, think about, okay, well, I like music. Well, is there business opportunity there? And so then I did some research and started to look around and see, man, there's really not a lot of non-copyright music that isn't governed by Harris Heller. That's really what it comes down to. Harris Heller is an absolute, incredible person. Like, I love that dude. I have learned so much from him, and Stream Beats is his line of music, and it has helped me through my career as a content creator. I don't know how many times I have listened to a Harris Heller song or gone there for inspiration for something, but nobody's competing. And I know that music is a huge space, and it's very daunting, and like this giant of, oh man, like getting into the music space is crazy. Well, I don't know. I just don't care. And so I just started thinking about how could we get in that, right?
Yeah.
And so I started looking around, and I was at a Bible study, and one of the guys there was making hip hop beats. That was something he did in his off time. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he just liked to make hip hop beats and try to give them out to artists. And he was getting a little traction. And, he would always ask me about, oh, how's your RD stuff going? And I was starting to do really well. And then one day I was just like, dude, you want to partner together? Maybe you make some stuff for me. I'll put it under my name. That'll give it some clout. But then, we came up with a revenue split that he liked, and we'll just see where it goes. I don't know. It could get 5 listens. It could get 10,000. I don't know, and so he started making some stuff, and it went from like an EDM vibe to what it is now, which the album is more synthwave with a little bit of trumpet stuff in it. I mean, we've been working on this that album probably 8 months, maybe longer than that.
Damn.
Like 14 months, somewhere in there, because he's got a real job and took time and did this, and then so that's how we got that. And then the metal albums, which this has just expanded so much. The metal album, I opened up RD Dirty Creek for sponsors, and somebody paid and put their logo on the track, and it was clearly a metal band. And so it was,
I remember.
real real aggressive, like it was like a deathcore band. And so I hit the dude up and was like, yo, what kind of band clearly you're metal, what kind of music, can I check it out somewhere? Just simply because I'm a fan of metal, I love it. And he we end up talking. He's a solo artist and a kid. He's young and just likes making music. And I was like, oh, well, we're doing this thing, would you be interested in it? Turns out he was a big fan of RD and really was excited to be a part of it. What's been cool is ever since I announced that we're making music, there's been, gosh, I want to say 5 other artists that have reached out and offered, hey, I either have a giant library of music that nobody has seen. Would you be willing to put it on RD? Or I would love to make music for you. I would love to sing on your stuff. I'd love to play drums. It's just been, all these people have reached out. And so now, seems like most things that we do, I
You're
have
starting a
to
record label over there.
yeah. Now that all these people have reached out, I'm starting a whole nother Discord just for the music so that these guys can collab together, because a few of them have reached out and said we would love to work with other artists. And originally I was just going to stick with a couple artists, and I talked with my friend, my IRL friend that made the the beats and the synthwave stuff. And I'm basically planning on just kind of turning it over to them, and I'm going to take very little, I mean basically nothing percentage wise. I really just want to use it as a platform for them to be able to share their music. I don't really think I'll benefit from it too much, but other than my name is just going to continue to get pushed out like crazy, which is worth more than, whatever percentage cut. So that's kind of what it's evolved into now. Is I went from kind of 50-50 partner with some of these guys to I'm really going to take a step back and just kind of give it over to them and let them use the name and the platform to promote their stuff. And then that way we can have pretty consistent music coming out as well, because it's done actually really well.
That's good.
I've put up the first album on YouTube, fresh channel, nothing, threw it up there. It got thousands of views. The channel got thousands of views in 48 hours and is still continuing to do well.
Do you do a video per song?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just AI'd a couple thumbnails.
No, that's what I kind of figured, but like I was just wondering.
I just did a video per song, and I titled them using very, whatever keywords and all that stuff. And then we threw them up on Spotify, and they've been doing pretty consistent. I would say, 10, 20, 30 people listening to them a day. And then last night, one of our songs got put on some big playlist, and one of our songs is doing like 300-400 listens a day now.
That's what's up. Yeah, that's what's up.
So I want to just, we have some momentum over there, so we just kind of want to keep going. And as much as I can enable other people with talent to help do that, and then I'll just pull myself out of it as far as having stakes in it and let them, trying to incentivize people to use it, and usually money does that. So yeah, it's cool. It's really cool.
I think what's cool about it too is like you're making the non-copyright music. So like, for example, anybody that's listening to this, anybody that's watching YouTube could use this as their background music. And I think that's what the coolest aspect of it is. Because I'm always in the need of background music for like what videos I do, previous videos that I've done and stuff like that. And it's just only going to it's only gonna the more you have, the more that we can choose from too, right? Sure. So it's gonna be super, super sick. I'm actually excited that you started that, because now I could just hit up you, but hey, I need a non-copyright song. Where do I go? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's kind of how the idea originated. I was looking for passions and things I was in, but again, I've said it a few times through the podcast, but I'm just very business oriented. This is just more of a brand than anything. Not really. I'm not just streaming. I'm trying to build something. And so I'm always looking for holes in markets or whatever. And that's what I saw was there's dominated by Harris Heller. And other than that, there's not a lot of stuff. And I couldn't really find exactly what I was looking for from Harris Heller. I mean, sometimes I could, but really, even the synthwave album that we released, when I sat down and went through the intros and stuff, they were literally designed around using on TikTok. Okay, I want you to do, if this drop, I need this amount of second build up to the drop, and then this is the drop, and then I want this to go this amount of time. And so it just set me up to where, okay, well, I just drag that and put it on TikTok, and there you go. I have a nice intro song or whatever.
Yeah. That's actually really good.
So I'm trying to design them as much as possible so that they make sense for content as well.
I think because I feel like maybe don't get me wrong, I'm not quite sure, but say, for example, the stream beats are more just songs, and they're just general songs. They're not made specifically for content. They're just made for non-copyright background music. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's his stuff, and we have some of this too. And this is definitely a path I'm going down as well. but it's definitely tailored towards the streamer, right? Something you
Mhm.
throw up while you're playing for 6 hours trying to beat an Elden Ring boss, right? That you need something to fill in your YouTube video so it doesn't just sound dead when you're not talking because you have 3 viewers and nobody's chatting, right? So you have some
Been there.
that
Been there.
seemed
I've
oddly
been there.
aggressive.
I've been there.
Same. I mean, hey, you know, yeah, mood. But that is what that's aimed for. And so we're doing that as well. But I mean, it really opens up a lot. Like with the metal, I mean, man, you can post the song, but then you can, put them all into an album on YouTube and do, 10 songs to beat final bosses to with some
Oh yeah,
crazy,
yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
like you can really recycle a lot of that content on YouTube and have a pretty successful platform over there too, as long as you have the library.
Yeah, because like I'm not even gonna front on YouTube. Occasionally, I'll just throw in like 1 hour of
Facts.
hip hop beats or 1 hour of Mac Miller type songs or stuff like that, right? And I just when I'm not feeling the music as a like if I'm not feeling any like the music that I like at the moment, I'll just throw in beats because that is just a good way to get in focus and stuff like that. So yeah, you're repurposing of those albums into like you mentioned 10 songs to beat Elden Ring bosses or the vibe, and that's actually such a smart business model too. Like you start slow and then you just build those categories, and those videos over time are just going to constantly grow too. So
yeah, they just keep getting views. And I also really want to do albums based off of another famous album, like especially in the metal scene, right? So take Metallica's Black Album. It sounds very unique. It has its sound. And these guys, I've asked them all, they're all talented enough and they're all up for the challenge where make a non-copyright version of that album where it sounds like it. So if I want to put Metallica in my video, but obviously I can't because they're going to take they're going to demonetize me. I can go here and get the same vibe. Yeah. And then it also just opens up, we can just kind of go through and make inspired albums off of, I mean, endless amounts of content, really,
Which is another avenue for the YouTube, like album list videos and stuff. So, yeah, that's very smart.
I mean, obviously, you have to be a little bit careful with copyright stuff, and I'm not trying to rip anybody off, but the general vibe, and I think you can kind of understand that, you can kind of get a vibe from an album, and we just take that and make our own
same concept as like, say, for example, you're going on YouTube looking for a Mac Miller type beat vibe. You know? Like something that Mac Miller would make a song to, right? So similar concept, which I think that's dope. I mean, like occasionally too, like I'll go to those hour-long videos of those songs that potentially you guys are going to be making. I'll just take a couple songs from that and put it in my background, which I really enjoy, right? So I think the endless opportunity with you right there. So
it's definitely
that's super
a
sick.
long-term play, But.
Oh yeah, that because it's not necessarily it's content, but it's not like a video everyday content. You know what I mean by that? It's more like you meant long-term, and maybe by the time you're done doing MX bikes, that's growing insane still, right? So like that's going to be like the main plat, but
you have to find other ways, to be full-time creator, to just monetize in as many ways as possible. And so that was just another one.
I think that's smart. Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of the two topics that I wanted to talk about. I have some news though. We're going to F1. We're going to F1
tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow. When you guys get this podcast, I'll be in the plane. But yeah, I think I'll be in the plane in the air. Hopefully I get it scheduled and edited and all that fun stuff. But yeah, we're going to F1 Austin. I'll be there Thursday through Monday. I'm excited. Never been to an F1 race before. Obviously, I've been to Supercross and motocross, but
it's going to be so sick.
You know what's crazy too is that same weekend, there's a Texas versus Georgia game in Austin. That weekend's going to be crowded.
Yeah, it's going to be
I'm staying in. I'm a homebody. I am not going downtown Austin on Saturday. I'll tell you that right.
Food or something,
Well, yeah, like food, but like, bro, like I am not going to downtown Austin the same day as a college football Austin Texas Longhorns game. Absolutely,
that's gonna be so fun though.
Yeah, like I'm excited. We've already like scoped out where we wanted to sit on the track and stuff. The cool thing is, we got like general admission, so we could basically roam around the place and sit wherever.
I was just gonna ask, how does seating work for an event like that?
Yeah, so like there's general emission where there's like open areas, which is
Okay.
like grass patches basically around the whole entire track that you can
Okay.
walk to and sit, put a lawn chair down and sit there all day. And then there's actual tickets that you can get for like grandstands. So like
Okay.
on the main
Yeah.
start, you can get tickets for the grandstands. I think there's on the opposite side too as well.
Mhm.
And then and some other parts of the track, there's grandstands that you can purchase tickets for. But we just went with general admissions that way we can roam around. I think
Yeah.
me, Dylan, and Dustin, aka Mix and B, you guys probably
Mhm.
know them from the channels and stuff. I think we determined that we're gonna sit at like turn 19, which is somewhat at the backside of the track, right before the finish line. So that way,
Okay.
it's like it's close, I guess, to all the like the commissions or
Okay.
what's the right
Yeah.
word?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean by that, like the stands, commission stands and stuff. So,
Mhm.
so we have a general aspect of like the restrooms, food. You can
Mhm.
still watch the race, and I'm pretty sure every single part of the track is gonna have like a big jumbotron, like of
I
the
would
race
assume.
going on. So like we'll be
Yeah.
able to see everything type of vibe. So it's cool. It's a sprint weekend too. So
Okay.
it's gonna be a long weekend. So sprint weekend, there's a like 30 lap race on Saturday, and then they have a
Okay.
main race on Sunday. So
Okay.
it's almost like MXGP where you do a qualifying race on
Okay.
Saturday and a race on Sunday. It's basically the same concept.
And you got tickets for both?
Yeah, it's all weekend.
Yeah, it's like
And we get to go Friday for practice and like qualifying. So yeah, it's gonna be a long. My feet are gonna hurt. I'm probably gonna be sunburned. By the time I get back, I might be
absolutely.
like burnt. Like I might be burnt. But
Just wear sunglasses. It'll
yeah,
be fine. You know, that way
I'll
you
just
look
have,
good.
I'll just have a like a burned around the sunglasses. Nah, it's gonna be great.
F1's going to be one of those things where it looks insane on TV, and then when you go there, you're just not really going to be able to comprehend what they're doing.
Well, they're gonna be going so fast. I don't know if my eyes can keep up, bro.
That's what I mean. Like, I mean, it looks insane on TV. You know, you're like, oh my gosh, how are they doing that? And then you're going to get there in person and just be completely dumbfounded on how that is at all possible. You know?
No, 100%. Like, I think where we're gonna stay like on the track. I think it's a slower part of the track. Obviously, they're still gonna be fast as hell, right? But
Sure.
it's a slower part so we can actually see stuff.
Mhm.
But no, I think that could be a possibility. It's like football games. Like
Mhm.
for me, like a sporting event. Truthfully, I would much rather watch it at home because
Sure.
you have the replay system, you have all these different
Yeah.
type of cameras. If you go to a race, you go to a football game, basketball game, baseball game, you only really see what's in front of you. Like you don't really
Right.
see. Obviously, there's replay on the jumbo screen, but
Sure.
like on TV, they're showing 6,000 replays,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And like when you go to an event, it's what in front of you and maybe one replay on the jumbo screen. So me
I used to do
personally, I
that.
like at home.
I used to do that at Hangtown when I lived close to Hangtown. I would go to Hangtown, and then as soon as there's like a minute left of 450 Moto 2, I would go home and I would just rewind the race and just watch it
Yeah.
immediately from that. Just and you're like, wait, that's what happened to Baggett? Like, what was he doing over there? You know, you get to
Yeah.
see, but then you get the whole vibe, right? I mean, being there in person, there's nothing like that in any sort of event like that. But
True.
under,
I'm kind of the
definitely
same
get
way though. For like Supercross, we would definitely leave early to miss the crowd because I've been in Supercross events where I sat in a parking lot for an hour and a half. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to do that.
Or
That
you gotta
is
get
ridiculous.
You got to get some industry tickets because
Hey,
our
yeah.
parking at Charlotte, I was,
In
the
and
race
out.
ended and we were at the hotel in 10 minutes.
What the hell?
Just,
Yeah. Hopefully. But yeah, that's a couple, or that's a thing I have coming up this weekend. Kind of wanted to bring it up to let you guys
yeah.
know.
Be awesome.
And that's what I kind of want to do with this pod too. Like we want to bring up, I want to say too much personal things, but like something that we find enjoying outside of content. And that's for both of us too. Like for like myself going to F1, whatever Doc
Yeah.
has coming up, whatever has something personal that he wants
I don't do
to
anything.
share. So, hey, I don't really do anything either, man, to be honest. But that's my point. Like something that we enjoy that
Sure.
we want to talk about. So, we'll probably save those towards the end of the podcast and talk about the main stuff at the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, with that being said, we talked a lot about the OEMs, which is great. We'll probably have some more conversations about it in the future.
Yeah.
And then we'll be back next week. We'll talk about the trip. We'll talk
Yeah, I'm
about
excited.
bikes as a whole. And we'll talk probably some more OEMs because this guy's probably going to be grinding all weekend. So I get to learn some more aspects of the game. So
Definitely not grinding.
But all right. With that being said, thank you guys so much for all the love and support on this. And we'll be back here next week with another pod. So we're out. Peace.
Later.